So at this time, I want to call the Newport City Council meeting to order for Monday, May 18th. It's a remote meeting, and we are beginning at 6:38 p.m. I'm going to do a roll call for the council members present. Dan Ross.
Present.
Kevin Charbonneau.
Present.
Melissa Patterson.
Present.
John Wilson.
Present.
Okay, and I know the city manager has called in via telephone. Is Jim Johnson with you?
He's present.
Okay, thank you. And is Acting Chief Travis Bingham with you?
Yes, as is
Okay.
Fire Chief John Harlemer.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of May 4th, 2020. And at this time, I would entertain a motion.
Kevin Charbonneau, I'll make that motion.
A motion made by Mr. Charbonneau. Is there a second?
John will second. Go ahead.
Okay. I heard Dan Ross second it. Discussion on the motion? Then all those in favor of approving the May 4th, 2020 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries. The next item is number 3. I want to have this orderly for comments by members of the public. We have quite a few with us this evening. If it's any comment under comments by members of the public related to item number 4, there will be time to address that under item number 4 on the agenda. So with that, are there any other comments by members of the public? All right, we'll move on. The next item is ATV MOU. It's to amend Section 4B, Western Ave to East Main Street, as far as the intersection of East Main Street and Cyrus. This would be to include all of Cumberland Farms driveways and to allow access to 1724 East Main Street. This is to also enter into an agreement dealing with Section 4D, Union Street to Landing Street. It's Landing Street, not Lake Street, as far as access to 47 Landing Street, which is to the East Side Restaurant. And then it's add a Section 4F, Union Street to Bluff Road to Freeman Street to Veterans Ave to access Prouty Beach. Now, even though it says amend on the agenda, it really is to enter into a MOU, which is a memorandum of understanding. This is not circumventing any amendment to the ordinance. This is just allowing us to fix some glitches immediately. This is to allow us to fix some things with the current ordinance with a memorandum of understanding. The goal is we will amend the ordinance in the fall after the season of ATVs accessing the streets in Newport. This is just because amending the ordinance takes 60 days, and we wanted to be able to allow the riders to access the East Side Restaurant and to access Cumberland Farms. And the reasoning with this also, as far as an MOU, this is exactly like what we do with the snowmobilers every year coming into the city. That's not an ordinance, that's an MOU, and the council enters into an agreement every year regarding that. Laura, have I left anything out?
The one thing I would add is that it's to allow access to Prouty Beach, and that our police department has recommended one more very small addition to the MOU, which will eventually take place in the ultimate ordinance amendment, and that is on Section Section 4, paragraph A, should say Highland Ave to Pleasant Street. Because right now it says Highland Ave to 3rd Street, so we're more explicit if we include the Pleasant Street.
Okay. Referring to this, the minor, what I consider minor, Lake Street, Landing Street, just a little history. It used to always be called Lake Street, and we all overlook that. I mean, it's in reality, it's of course now Landing Street. So I know we overlook that aspect. As far as the other access to Prouty Beach, that was the intent of this originally, and it got left out. There were many eyes on this document, and there was many eyes, and it got overlooked by quite a few people. So that is something that happens. That happens from time to time, where you could have entire council, department heads, even members of the public, all overlooked these aspects. And so that is my take on it. Now, at this time, I would like, since we have the acting chief with us, to have him give us a report of what he saw over the weekend, if he could do that.
Yeah, hi everybody, this is Travis. So over the weekend we had a few complaints that came in, and our officers dealt with them as they came. We had one complaint on Saturday which dealt with the Bluff Road area, which is not in the ordinance. The officers responded over there and they made contact with the offenders and they dealt with that situation. The other two complaints were on Sunday, the 17th, and one was at 5 p.m. and the other one was at 7:47. The first one was a caller that lives on Prouty Drive had called and said that there was traffic from Union going up Prouty to Sias, and then from Sias back down to Prouty and onto Union to get to the trail that way. So obviously those aren't in the city. These were after the fact. This was late reported. He had called later in the day, and we weren't able to make contact with anybody that was in violation at that time. The other one was on Freeman Street, and it was actually, we believe, somebody that was headed to the campground with their four-wheeler. Contact was not made at that time. However, one of our off-duty officers said that he had seen a four-wheeler come through the campground that day. So those are the three incidents that we had. I called and checked in myself on Saturday with the department, and the officer that I spoke to actually said that the traffic was moving a little bit slower with the ATVs going with the flow of traffic. So I thought that was a good thing. And I came through town myself and did see a few ATVs out and about at Maple Field and then down by the city post office parking lot. So that's what I had to report out from the police side of things. There was no traffic violations. The only issues that we had were people not complying with the actual ATV route that's in the ordinance.
So there was no call or no calls or complaints regarding, I was informed that supposedly in Park and Dutchess area, there was supposedly 6 ATVs racing around at 11 o'clock at night. So there was nothing reported about that from any of the neighbors?
No, there was nothing reported to us with any of that.
I can add to that, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like to have me. This is Jim.
Okay.
I heard about that, so I went around the neighborhood personally and asked the neighbors if they heard or saw anything, and not one of them heard or saw a thing. So I don't believe they were up there racing around. If they had been up there, I'd have heard it. I certainly would have heard it. And I can tell you Mrs. Digest definitely would have heard it, and she did not hear anything. So I'm not sure that even happened.
Okay. No, I was just curious because I had gotten a report of that in that area, and so I was just following up. I know we had positive reports from the businesses, from some of the businesses, how they saw increase in traffic from the people coming into town. So I thought that was a positive sign for the first weekend. And with that, Laura, do you have anything else to add before I open up to the council?
Oh, I think you covered it very well. Thank you.
Okay. Council members, you have anything you'd like to add, or comments or suggestions?
This is Melissa.
Oh, go ahead, Melissa.
Yep. We did some driving around this weekend just because we were curious, and we were amongst ATVs. Everybody we saw were, doing the speed limit and actually keeping. I think this is going to be a positive side thing, is maybe keeping people under 20, at the 25 miles an hour. My husband was kind of, not really joking about it, saying, boy, I wish they'd open up Sias and slow them down on Sias. Because, people whiz down this road all the time. I didn't, definitely I was in my car, but I didn't hear the noise from the machines. The motorcycles and other types of vehicles are certainly much louder, in my opinion, than the ATVs have been. So I have, noise doesn't seem to be an issue in my view, and again, my view. And the funny things you notice is like, boy, do they park well. Everybody's straight and in a line and, sort of don't take up any more parking spaces than they absolutely need to. So, because I know people had expressed concerns about, how is there going to be parking if all these ATVs are here. But, just again, from what I observed, they were very conscious of parking straight and parking tight.
Thank you. Mr. Ross, did you have something? I think I heard you also.
Yeah, Dan Ross. I live on the Glen Road, and this weekend there was numerous ATVs going down and back, and I didn't find it uncomfortable for the noise. They all seemed to be traveling at a reasonable rate of speed, so I guess, it didn't bother me a bit, and I don't think it bothered my neighbors, so I think it was a good thing. And I look across the lake and I can see quite a few going to the Jimmy Quick. And I drove around town just to see what it was like, and it didn't impede me going anywhere. And in the climate we're in, it's important that we get people to the businesses in town. So for me, this weekend was a positive all around.
I want to reiterate, I drove around. I went to recycling Saturday morning, and then I swung down by Maple Street. Actually, when I was at recycling, there were 3 trucks with trailers parked at the area that we designated for ATVs, parking, a trailhead, I guess that's what they call it. And I saw 3 parked there, and then when I left recycling, I decided to swing around and come down by Maple Fields and Main Street, and there was at least 5 or 6 that I could see gassing up at Maple Fields. And they were coming out with coffee and other things from Maple Fields that I saw. And I happened to drive around quite a bit over the weekend because I had an interest. So I drove I went out every couple hours on Saturday and even maybe a couple hours on Sunday. And I saw the same thing. They were, from what I could tell, they were obeying the stop signs, the traffic lights. They were, not everyone, I have to admit, not everyone I saw was using their hand signals, but I look at the number of cars and trucks and vehicles that don't put on the turn signal. And so I wasn't overly concerned about that. And so I thought it was a win-win for the first weekend with businesses. Yes, we had some, go down the wrong street, but I think it was a lot better than what I anticipated. That was just my take on it.
Mr. Mayor, this is Laura.
Yes?
You have the email from the downtown organization. They did an informal follow-up with the businesses and had a little bit of data to give folks an idea of what the impact was. And again, this is just the opening weekend, was just an informal request. So it's just to give us an idea of...
yeah, I do. Give me a second. I can open that up.
All right.
Hold on. I gotta find it here. Okay, this is an informal, the executive director of the NCDD downtown group did an very informal poll of the businesses, some businesses. He reported that Maple Fields, Irving saw over 50% of the gas sold on Saturday was to ATV traffic. Amados, which is in Maple Fields, saw a 10% increase in sales directly related to gas purchase from ATV traffic. The T-Bar / Hoagies, about a 15% increase in business. Domino's, it's hard to tell because they do a lot of delivery. They said no actual number and not sure. Wendy's was extremely busy. Their parking lot was full of ATVs. They were excited by the ATV traffic. Pick and Shovel said no impact on the store, but a major impact on the ice cream business. They said ATVs were parked all over to stop and get ice cream over the weekend. Vista really didn't really notice any difference. Walgreens, they thought maybe some was directly related to the ATV traffic, but they, according to the manager, but couldn't be 100% sure. Great Outdoors said they saw a 10% increase over the weekend. Noticed some business came from the ATVs shopping at Hoagies and Wendy's. Great Outdoors feels ATVs will bring additional business as the season continues. UPS store really, they said no, not sure if it could be correlate to ATV, but they were busier. And of course, Inspired Yoga had no impact. I don't think ATVs are coming in to come and do yoga. One never knows, though. But from some of the preliminary, he did his informal poll. It sounds like some of the businesses, definitely could attribute increase to the ATV traffic. And as Mr. Ross said, with this current climate of the pandemic and COVID, and I think this is a good boost to try to help any way we can right now. Other council members have anything? Mr. Wilson or Mr. Charbonneau?
Kevin Charbonneau here. I know on some of the ATVs, they use an app on their GPS systems that actually is not accurate. And that may account for some inadvertent, travel on prohibited streets. But I am aware that there was ATVers that were in directions, this GPS app on their phones or whatever, that was not accurate. So that may be part of the issue.
Right. I know I downloaded just for curiosity's sakes. I put an app on my phone. It's called Ride Command by Polaris, and it shows the trails, not just in Newport, the routes, but all around the area. And so, if they're following that app and it's not quite accurate, you're right. That could account for some of the glitches.
Right, and those will get worked out as we move along.
Yes.
That is true, Mr. Mayor. There's some apps on there that aren't on there are on there that shouldn't be, and they should be getting taken down.
And who was this speaking?
Lee Curtis, Borderline Ridge Riders, Vice President.
Okay. Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Wilson, did you have anything you'd like to add?
Oh, I think it went pretty good. I'll get the guy that's going up and down Longview, and then I'll turn his number into the police. But other than that, he was even quieter than the motorcycle. So.
Yes, I know when the Harleys went by near my house, they really drowned out the regular noise, and so yes, I found downtown they made no more noise than what I consider regular motorcycle traffic or truck traffic. And I thought they were. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, it's Robin signing in.
Oh, okay. Hi, Robin.
Sorry
So-
to interrupt.
All right. So, any other questions from council members regarding this MOU? It's really just so that we can get the traffic to go to the east side. I call it the east side down Landing Street. I think Mr. Ross can remember that it used to be called Lake Street way back, and that's why it just got overlooked. And to get them to be able, and to clarify the intersection at Cumberland Farms, and to allow farther up East Main, basically to the tavern, is what this is doing. And also Prouty Beach, because we know that there's been interest in people staying with campers at the beach once they open things up, and to be able to jump on their ATV and ride the trails and then come back for the evening at the beach. And so that's basically what this is. It's just an initial quick fix to some minor, what I consider minor glitches. And so are there any other questions on this from council members?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, John Wilson. As I talked to you, we've been on the phone. I've been on the phone most of the day with the League of Cities and Towns, and when we vote on this as the MOU, clarify to the people that it doesn't really go into fit. We need 2 signatures on that, because it's a memorandum of understanding. One will be from you, Mr. Mayor, and then the other one will have to be the, what's his name, Janess from the ATV Club. So
Right, right.
they'll need both signatures, even to do an MOU, memorandum of understanding. That's all right now.
No, that's a good point, Mr. Wilson. I do appreciate you, contacting the league to have a couple things clarified regarding that. And yes, if this is approved by the council, it will take Mr. Janessa's and my signature to actually implement it. And so, with that, anything else from the city manager, acting police chief, or council members?
Just to point out, it's my recommendation that the MOU include everything in section 4, which is A, B, C, D through F. It's everything that's currently written plus the amendments that we're requesting tonight, so that you have a thoroughly in sync document that will match each other. And I think, well, I know that that's going to serve you very well in terms of needing clarity. I would also expect that as we go through this season, we may realize we'll have advantages that we just don't know about yet. So we may have other tweaks to go forward as the season progresses and we learn more about how things are going to work. Anything from you?
No, I got it. No.
Okay. That's all we have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, this is Kevin Charbonneau.
Yes.
I'm wondering if, like on one of them, it says access to 1724 East Main Street. Should we also put in parentheses the current business or the landmark so people are aware of it? For that and to 47 Landing Street. We may know those addresses, but somebody visiting from Lowell or out of the area may not know which is the end of the allowed traffic.
That probably would be okay in the MOU. If we're dealing with the actual ordinance when it comes time, to go through the amendment process, once we get everything worked out, I'm the one who thought that we probably, in an actual ordinance, we shouldn't have business names because they change over time. But
Right.
this is an MOU, it probably would be okay. And just to let everyone know, an MOU is just as enforceable as an ordinance regarding law enforcement. It's the same as the snowmobile MOU. they have to follow all the rules, regulations, and law, and it's enforceable. So this is no, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I was just thinking of landmarks, having snowmobiled in the past. It's much easier for me to recognize a landmark as opposed to a E911 address.
Right.
But but you're right, businesses change, and so
But I think for now, it could easily be added to the MOU, because this is like just to get us through the next few months until we revisit the entire ordinance. And I think,
Okay.
so I don't see where it would be a problem on an MOU. Laura, do you see any issue?
No, I think it's actually a good idea. As the mayor said, we talked about it in our thinking, and it was because, businesses do change. I think for purposes of the MOU, it's a great idea. It certainly would provide clarity because a lot of people know where the east side is, and a lot of people know where Lowe's, or I think it's called the Tavern. See, it's already a name change.
right.
So I think it's better to do more than to do less.
Right. Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Wilson, yeah, I am. If you don't go that road, why don't you just put, I know we can work this when we relook it, just put up to the boundary from Newport and Derby. That includes all the businesses through there.
Well, actually...
That little sign that says Derby.
Right. That would include, yes, because there's several businesses before you get to the tavern. Actually, the tavern's the last business on the right.
Yes.
Okay. Anything
Mr. Mayor,
else?
Mr. Mayor, this is Lee Curtis, Vice President, Borderline
Yes.
Riders. We
Yes.
will get this signed as soon as we know what you guys pass. Scott and I will make sure we get this signed and put no four-wheelers beyond this point, and we will get it signed for you as soon as we know.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Anything else from council members, or if not, I would entertain a motion so that we can open it up for discussion for the public.
Kevin Charbonneau, I make a motion to approve the MOU as stated.
Motion was made. Is there a second?
Melissa, I'll second that motion.
Made by Kevin Charbonneau, seconded by Melissa Patterson. Now I'm going to open up for discussion. Any discussion, additional discussion from council members? Okay, then I'm going to open it up to the public. I'm not going to go into the Q&A. There's not enough people, so if you wish to comment, we'll do it in an orderly fashion. Who would like to go first?
This is Christine Russell. I would like to go.
Okay, go ahead.
I think that it's completely appropriate to utilize the routes that were initially suggested in the plan and go all the way to Cumberland Farms or even beyond. I would be happy to eventually see all the city streets in Newport opened.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I had a great time riding over the weekend.
Okay. All right. Now, who is next? I see Lori Grimm was next. When you're done, I have a favor to ask. When you're done speaking, if you can mute your microphone, it just makes it easier on the background noise. And so I'll go, Lori Grimm popped up on my screen with her video, so I'm going to go with her next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to say, first of all, that I was out this weekend as well, and I felt that the ATVs that I did see were respectful. I have always looked at ATVs, those kind of things, as difficult when it comes to safety, but as long as they are abiding by the rules, then I'm good with this trial period, and we'll see what happens at the end. I am thankful that you have clarified the memorandum of understanding and agree that it is a way to get it through to make sure that they are abiding by the rules. And as long as those streets are well marked, I do happen to think that the fact that the no ATVs beyond this point sign are much smaller than the other signs could be an issue with people not seeing them. That's, up to the ATV club. And the only other thing that I would like to say is that I was a little bit distressed by a comment that I saw by Scott Janess over the weekend that said that an ATV riding on an unapproved street was probably a city resident and taxpayer, and they should be left alone. And I think that that comment flies in the face of what the ordinance suggests. If we make it through this and there are no issues and you guys make a decision to open it up, that's great. But at the moment, we have certain roads. And I'm happy that Travis and his group with the Newport Police Department are doing their job, and I appreciate that. So, we're going to see what happens and give it a chance. And I've said that all along. I am not for ATVs on these streets, especially 105 West with the amount of traffic, but I've always said I'd be willing to give it a try. I am not anti-business, as I have been accused of being. I supported lots of businesses this weekend, and I'm thankful that you have clarified the memorandum of understanding and that you'll be looking at a way of adjusting the actual ordinance in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Thank you. Oh. Okay, okay. Next, somebody, who would like to speak next?
Claire McIntyre.
Okay.
Okay, I'm a new owner on Lake Street between Cross and Pond. I would not have purchased this home if there was going to be ATV traffic. I heard what you explained, the members explained about the wording and the former street name and the problems with GPS. I think that the ATV organization should make a very strong effort to get the GPS changed so it does not affect their members and their members will not be put into a difficult position of being where they should not be. I'm on Lake Street between Cross and Pond. We already have a large problem with loud and speeding traffic. Now, I have noticed the ATVs this weekend. I was surprised. I was not sure who to call about it, and I was not close enough to get any numbers. And if I'm supposed to call the police, what number should I call?
Okay, the number, Travis can correct me, but I believe it's 334-6733. Am I correct?
Yeah, that is the direct line. However, if there is an emergency, obviously call 911 is the best option. But yes, 6733 will get you directly into the Newport Police Department, but we encourage folks to dial 911 for any emergency.
But,
well, do you consider...
Let me just say something. ATVs shouldn't be going by your location anyway, because if you're near Cross and Pond Street, that's off the Lake Road. ATVs don't go out the Lake Road. See,
they did this weekend.
Off on the Lake Road?
Yes, they did.
Boy, did you hear anything about that, Travis? Because Lake Street is on the west side of town. See, what we're clarifying... Oh, go ahead.
I understand what other people have said. That one street used to be called Lake Street and is now called Landing, And I understand that my street now is called Lake Street. I understand how there can be confusion. And I'm not surprised that there is a problem with the GPS, because when I moved in here and people were trying to make deliveries, they had a lot of trouble finding my place, because obviously they didn't listen to any of my instructions about how to find my place. They just used their GPS. So I fully understand both of those points. But I'm just telling you, there were ATVs on Lake Street even today. So I don't want them on my road, because particularly in the summer when the windows are open, I do not have air conditioning, I don't want to hear it. Now, I understand the benefit for the rest of the town, and I followed this in the paper, so when I read stuff in the paper, Lake Street was not mentioned, so I wasn't getting overly concerned, all right? But what I'm saying is whoever puts out the apps or the GPS software that the ATVers are using, the ATV organization has clout to get that updated and changed. That's what I'm asking. Get it changed and make sure they know that they're not supposed to come on Lake Street. Now, I would have called...
Okay, did the chief, Travis, did you have something?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, so I actually have the app pulled up right here, and it doesn't go down. It's not Lake Street, it's Lake Road, and that might be part of the problem with some of the deliveries that are not making it to your residence. So Lake Road is not Lake Street, and the map that I have pulled up for the ride app doesn't go down Lake Road. I just want to add this as well. If you're seeing ATVs that are going down Lake Road by your residence, then please give us a call. You can call the 6733 number, and you guys, we count on you guys to be our eyes and ears. And if you don't call and let us know that there's violations, then it's hard for us to enforce some of these things. So please call. If they're on your road, then that's not part of the route.
I appreciate that, Chief. Thank you for that. I will not always be able to see a plate number or anything like that. I'll just be able to say ATV going west or going east on Lake Road. Okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Try to get the best description you can, and we'll follow up and try to figure out.
Thank you for that help. And I did want to make a point, since everything else was so positive, I wanted to make a point that there have been real glitches, and some of us, real residents, have noticed. Okay? Thank you for listening.
Thank you. And next. If there are no other comments, we'll call the motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, I heard all the ayes. Any opposed? Then the ayes have it, the motion carries.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
That motion is also with it really happens when two signatures on that MOU.
Yes, that's how it is with the snowmobile. It's with, it takes a signature. To enter into any agreement, whether it's a contract or an MOU or anything, it takes signatures of both sides.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Lee Curtis here. As soon as we can get that paper to Scott, he will sign it.
Okay, thank you.
This is Laura, City Manager. I'll be conversing with Scott first thing in the morning, and I'll have a signature by mid-morning. So, Mr. Mayor, when you do your daily routine for signatures, I'll make sure it's in your pile tomorrow. So it'll go in effect tomorrow, and I'll let Scott know when.
I got a warrant to be signed too.
Yeah, so we got work for you anyway tomorrow.
Because I try to consolidate my trips down to the city office site, so that's good.
Thank you.
Okay. moving on then. We need an executive session to interview police chief candidate, 1 VSA 313-3A3. Can I entertain a motion?
This is Melissa. I'll move to enter executive session under 1 VSA 313-3A3.
A motion's been made. Is there a second? Oh, is there a second?
This is John Wilson, second.
So a motion made by Ms. Pedersen, seconded by Mr. Wilson to enter into executive session. Discussion? Then all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we're going in executive session, so bear with me. It takes me a second to put this into where we need to go in.
Mr. Mayor, it's Robin.
Yes?
Can you just tell me who's going to go in executive session with the council?
Well, the entire city council, the candidate, the city manager. Laura, is the clerk treasurer going to have questions since he interfaces with that department?
If he has the opportunity, he would like to participate.
Then,
And who is the candidate?
I think you can reveal that after the executive session.
If we were in the same room, we would know who the candidate was, so you should reveal that.
Maybe you would and maybe you wouldn't, Robin, honestly. And I don't mean any disrespect by saying that.
Well, if somebody was there in person and we were stepped out of the room and the candidate was in the room, we would know. So there's not much difference between being remote or in person. We should know.
Unless the candidate was from a different state and was teleconference.
Right. I think out of respect, we don't know how this is going to, what the end result is going to be. Out of respect for the candidate's confidentiality, when the a council makes a decision, I think that's the time everybody will know equally.
okay, do we vote on that motion? Mr.
Yes,
Johnson?
please.
We did. Okay. So then we need to go into executive session. Bear with me.
This line is now on hold. This line is now off hold.
Okay, we are now back from executive session. And at this time, I would entertain a motion to appoint a police chief for the city of Newport.
Mr. Mayor, this is Kevin Charbonneau.
Mr. Charbonneau?
I would make a motion that we appoint Acting Chief Travis Bingham to the position of Police Chief for Newport, effective immediately.
A motion has been made. Is there a second?
I'd like to second that, Mr. Mayor. John Wilson.
Motion made by Mr. Charbonneau, seconded by Mr. Wilson. Any discussion? Then hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries. Congratulations, Travis.
Congratulations, Travis.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
this is Jim. I
Yes.
tried to get our discussion, but I'll say it now. I think he made a great decision. I've known Travis a long time, longer than he'd probably like to admit. But I can't think of anybody that has a cooler and sustainable disposition than Travis. I mean, for somebody that came up through the ranks to where he is now, is a great testament to the kind of person he is. In my experience, almost 40 years in city government, so in my experience, the people who have been promoted from within are the ones that have been here the longest. So you made a great decision. Just want to say that.
Nice.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on to new business. And I'm gonna go through Mr. Ross.
No new business.
Mr. Charbonneau?
No new business.
Ms. Pedersen?
No, new business.
Mr. Wilson?
No new business.
The city manager, Laura, do you have any new business?
No, thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
Not really any new business, but today was the last day of tax collection. All the mail came in, and over the weekend, we took in almost $500,000 today in the mail-in. So I think our tax collection is in pretty good shape.
That's good to know. All right, we'll move on to old business. Mr. Ross?
Nothing old.
Mr. Charbonneau?
Nothing.
Ms. Pedersen?
No,
Mr. Wilson?
No.
Ms. Dogan?
No, thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
No?
Okay. At this time, I'm going to set the next regular city council meeting. It's for June 1st, 2020, 6:30 p.m. At this time, I'm still planning on a remote meeting because I'm not sure how things are going to stand. So it'll be a remote meeting, and then, once again, it's Monday, June 1st, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. And at this time, we need a motion to adjourn at 7:39 p.m.
Kevin Charbonneau, I'll make that motion.
Motion made, is there a second?
second.
Seconded, made by Mr. Charbonneau, seconded by Ms. Pedersen. Discussion, then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.